everybody, this is Hua. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I hope that all of you had a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday and happy Hmong New Year to all of you, wherever you may be, Sacramento, North Carolina, Minnesota, or Wisconsin. Happy New Year to all of you and Happy New Year to everybody across the nation. I hope that you all are well and that you are safe and you're healthy and that your family is enjoying this holiday time together. Today, I am going to be reading a historical fantasy romance novel that I wrote. This is a novel dedicated to May Lor Vang. Thank you very much for allowing me to use your name as the leading lady. I hope that you enjoyed the story. This is part 1, so sit back, relax, and enjoy.
An ocean, a cave, a dream that
Milady, the stars dull when you walk into the room. With you by my side, my people will find peace and happiness, for their queen is one with a heart of glory and justice. Come, my lady, let us walk upon the earth and shed our love to our people. Gao May jerked awake, the city life buzzing outside her window. She groaned and turned to look at the watch beside her counter. It was blinking in red digital 4:14 a.m., and she cursed. It was happening again. The dreams that did make sense and had her popping pills to stay sane. Her hands were numb and she rubbed them together to bring feeling into them. She sat up and rolled her shoulders. A deep ache was coursing through her. Milady, let my hands take the pain from you, a voice whispered in the dark. Gao May gasped, and her hands shifted to the dark room around her. It needed light. She reached over and turned the light on, filling the room with life. She covered her face with her hands, and a deep, strange, longing feeling that always made her cry entered her soul. This was how it always began, and it threatened her sanity. She brought her knees up to her chest and wrapped her arms around them, crying. "Make it go away," she whispered. "Please, make it go away." And somewhere in the back of her mind, she could hear the same baritone male voice respond with a deep accent. "My lady, your tears are gutting me. Let my arms take the pain away." "Are you still having nightmares?" her friend Stacy asked as Gao May stared at the computer screen in front of her. She had lost track of what she was doing. She blinked and turned to her friend Stacy, who had inquisitive eyes. She didn't know how to answer, and since her mother's death last year, leaving her alone in the world, she only had Stacy to turn to. Her friend had been like parents to her through it all, and as she tried to think of an excuse to say that made it sound believable, she realized she had none. "Gao May?" Stacy pestered. "I know how that mind of yours works. You're trying to come up with a lie that I will believe, aren't you?" Gao May frowned, and then she turned away from the desk. She shoved the heel of her hands into her eyes to stop the tears, forgetting that she was wearing makeup. When she pulled her hand away, one of her fake lashes came off without her realizing it. "Stacy, I'm scared because honestly, these dreams, they come so often that it's beginning to drive me crazy. I don't know what to do, and at night, when the world is it's all quiet, it's when I begin to hear his voice. I can't be sure if I like it or if I'm afraid of it," Gao May cried. Stacy made a face, and then she burst out laughing. Gao May stopped crying, and anger filled her. "Why are you laughing at me? I'm pouring my heart out to you." Stacy pulled out a compact mirror and opened it for Gao May. "Look, girl, just look." She took the small mirror compact and looked. She gasped and stood up, searching for her lashes when she saw that it was on her hand. She ripped the other side off and set both of them down on the table. They looked up at her like little caterpillars. "This is not a good start to my day," Gao May cried. Stacy made a sad face. "Oh, how about I buy you some deep-fried food?"
a dream that no one could save.
The blossoms on the tree shimmered in the light as the field of flowers danced in the wind. The sun's rays kissed her skin, and the small flecks of gold in her eyes shined as a smile spread across her angelic face. Her hair was long and half was coiled up with a gold pin. She wore a lavender gown with bow sleeves, and it had gold tassels hanging on the end. The hem of her gown matched the tassels, and as she walked through the field, she heard the sound of a horse neighing. As she turned, a strong stallion raced up with a rider. He was wearing a black warrior armor with a red cape, and it swung behind him with the wind as the horse galloped to where she was. As he neared her, he looked down at her with his handsome face. His hair was black and long to the shoulders. His eyes were dark brown that held a mysterious touch that she wanted to know. "My lady," he said in a deep baritone voice, "the weather today holds nothing to her smile. Might I have the honor of walking with you?" She must have answered yes, because he got off the horse and came to her. As he rounded the corner, he gave her an incredible smile. When he reached her, he took her hands, brought them to his lips, and kissed. Then he lifted her as if she weighed nothing, and sat her on the horse. He took the reins and began leading the horse to a drawbridge. "What is your name?" she called out, but it was like he couldn't hear her, and he kept walking. "Sir, what is your name?" Then he stopped and turned around to face her. With a smile, he whispered, "I am the one who holds your heart and keeps your hand." The honking outside her window woke Gao May, and she rolled to her stomach, groaning. That was twice in a week that she had been dreaming. This was a new tally. Normally she'd have at least a week or two break in between her dreams. Her ears were buzzing as she reached for the light and turned it on. She swung her legs over the bed and got out, stumbling to the window. She looked outside the New York City streets and saw that it had begun snowing. It was November, and Thanksgiving was coming up in a few weeks. She hated this time of the year. She dragged her feet to the closet, where she grabbed a few change of clothes to shower and got ready for the day's work ahead. Stacy was already seated in her office chair when Gao May arrived. The many customer agents surrounding them were busy chattering on the phone. She had been working with Stacy for a little over 6 years, and both of them had turned down management twice. She didn't want to manage anyone. She just wanted to work, get paid, and then leave. Stacy was twirling her red hair in her fingers as Gao May arrived. Today it was red. Next week it may be blue. That was Stacy, and that's what Gao May loved about her friend. As she came to sit in her chair and turned her screen on, Stacy came to her with an envelope. "What's that?" she asked. Stacy beamed. "It's this year's company party. It's a masquerade. Everyone is invited to attend. It'll be over at the Empire State Building." Gao May took it from her friend and opened it. On the front was an image of a green and gold mask entwined together with a white ribbon in between them. "Wow! They're going all out this year." "And so should we. Let's go shopping after work to find the perfect dress. My aunt knows how to tailor if it should be too long." "Yeah, that sounds like a good plan." Shopping was something Gao May hated doing, simply because those store mirrors were misleading. If she had mirrors like that at home, she'd love to stare at herself too. Each outfit that she put on, it made her look like she was a goddess. Stacy was no help because the girl was applauding at every single dress. Finally, after 8 stores, Gao May decided she was going to go home to Ben & Jerry instead. "Oh, come on, Gao May. All those dresses were beautiful on you. If I had your body, I'd have bought all of them." Gao May rolled her eyes. "Have you seen my bank account? It will hate me if I did that." And then the sound of her next argument died on her lips when she saw a store up ahead. Stacy muttered something about going to the bathroom, and Gao May ignored her as she walked to the front entrance. "Dreams of Stallions," the store flashed in pink above its door. Strangely, it was full of dresses, but dresses that looked like they were designed from centuries ago. She walked in, and as she did, her heart began hammering. Each dress that hung had a design and texture that was richly put together. The fabric was silk and smooth against her hands. This must cost a fortune, she said to herself. She picked up a price tag, and the 4-digit number made her cringe. She dropped it and turned to go when someone greeted her from the back. She turned back around and saw a slim woman wearing a red dress with a gold belt emerging. Her hair was a pale blonde, and she had a very beautiful smile as she came to stand before Gao May. "Welcome, my lady. What dress are you looking for tonight?" she asked. Gao May noticed how she carried a strange stance to her posture. She had her hands together at her waist, and she was smiling from ear to ear. I was just browsing, ma'am. Thank you." "May I make a suggestion?" she asked. "You don't even know what I'm looking for." "True, my lady, but I've been told that I can read hearts." Gao May's eyes narrowed. "What? You're reading my mind?" She laughed. "No, my lady. Do you trust me?" Uh, sure, yeah, but I can't afford anything in your store." "My lady, please, do not let the numbers turn you away. Honestly, we have something amazing that is just meant for you. May I share it with you?" Before Gao May could argue further, she walked away and then she returned with something in her hands. To her shocking surprise, it was the same lavender dress she had on the other night in her dream. "My lady, this dress is meant for you to wear. Would you do the honor?" she asked. Gao May reached out and touched the silver lavender fabric. Her heart came alive and her hands trembled. Her eyes wandered to the price tag and her excitement sank. "I can't afford this dress." "My lady, you are so lucky. As you walked in on our special, first customer in after 6 gets a free dress." Gao May laughed. "What? Are you serious?" The lady pointed to the left, and when Gao May turned to look, sure enough, there was a sign that she had missed as she entered. She laughed, unbelieving herself. All right, well, let me try it on." "It's adjustable," she said. "Well, you seem to know everything," Gao May said. "My lady, I'll wrap it up for you if you give me a moment." Gao May walked out of the store with the package just as Stacy came out of the woman's bathroom. "Did you find a dress?" Stacy asked. Nodding, Gao May replied, "Yeah, I did. It's so funny because I never noticed that store before." "What store?" Gao May turned to find the store had closed and the sign was turned off, except now it read Nordstrom. She made a face and turned to find a very confused Stacy waiting for an answer. Her thoughts jumbled inside her head as she recounted her steps, and then what was before her eyes. She opened and closed her mouth, unsure of what had happened. "What?" Stacy asked. "I swear, it was not Nordstrom. It was a different name." "What name?" And just like that, Gao May couldn't recall what the name of the store was. She reached to open the box to check the tag and found that the tag was also gone from the dress. Stacy's eyes lit up and touched the fabric. "Wow! This is real silk. How much did you pay for this dress?" Gao May didn't know what to say to make her story sound believable. In the end, she simply said it was half off and she charged her card. The dress was hanging on the closet door as Gao May stared at it. She couldn't recall the store name, so she came home to check online with all the stores inside that mall, and not a single one of that store jogged her memory. She had confused herself more now than ever, and she didn't know if it was a good thing or a bad thing. She came to stand before the dress and saw the details sewn onto the hems and sleeves. Not one single detail differed from her dream, and that was what haunted her. She hadn't yet tried on the dress, and she was afraid to because things weren't making sense to her. Stay focused, Gao May. Just let it go. "My lady, I patiently await your return to my arms. These arms have been yearning for your body. Every night, I count the hour in the hopes that when time aligns, you and I shall meet. and I will once again mark your body with mine. Every night when the stars glow, I ask them to watch over you with a steady sword, ready to strike when harm comes your way. Gao May gasped awake from the baritone voice as she struggled to breathe. It had felt as if someone had been kissing her, drawing her breath from her body. She had been shaking, her body covered in sweat, and the room was cold even though she had broken out in a shake. She reached over and turned on the light, covering her face with her hands. The dream had been the same one. Her, traveling in a field of flowers, running to find someone. The voice that gave her strength and captured her heart and soul. She shoved at her wet cheeks with her hands and let out a deep breath. Her pounding heart was hammering loudly against her ribcage. She laid back down, and as she counted the cracks in her ceiling, her eyes began to fill with tears, and her heart slowly came back down to normal, and she could smell the sweet fragrance of cherry blossoms, and she drifted into a deep sleep. "Milady," he said as he led the horse down the field of flowers. All around them were cherry blossom trees, gently dancing in the wind as the sun kissed them with its light. Gao May held the reins in her hands and watched as she was led down the field of flowers beyond the trees, where she saw a large mountain that gave away the view to a kingdom filled with people dressed in silk gowns and rich blue tunics. The sweet aroma of food filled her nostrils. "My lady, my queen, welcome home. Your people awaits you." Then he turned around to her, and his handsome face broke into a gentle smile. He reached out to her and lifted her off the horse. Once she was on the ground, he wrapped his arms around her, pulling her close, and bent down to capture her lips gently. His hands cupped her face, drawing in her breath and making her his. When he pulled away, he reached out to touch her cheek with a single finger. Never had I ever thought anything beautiful in this world until my eyes fell upon your beauty. It possessed me into giving up my entire heart to you. My lady, in the palm of your hands is my heart. Please, guard it with gentleness, for it speaks only to the tone of your voice. It answers only to you, my queen, for you are my one and only. If I have to wait forever for you, I will, because every breath waiting for you is worth it to hold you and kiss you once again. To taste your lips, to inhale your fragrance, to feel you in my arms. The distance of the ocean is worth crossing. The time is worth chasing, and I would give every part of myself to have you. He kissed her lips again, and she closed her eyes. He touched her lids. Open your eyes, my queen. See what your love does to me. Gao May jerked awake and realized she was sitting in her office, daydreaming. Oh, Lord, it had gotten this bad. Her hands were shaking as Stacy came walking down, removing her black coat. Her cheeks were red from the cold outside, but her face broke into concern as she saw Gao May. "Gao May? What's wrong?" Stacy asked. Tears streaming down her face, Gao May pushed her chair away, and Stacy came to hug her. "Oh my God, I'm going crazy out of my mind, Stacy. I don't know what to do anymore. There's an on-site therapist the company keeps on hand for moments like this. Do you want his number? I can get it for you." "At this point, anything will help," she whispered into her friend's arms. The therapist, Dr. Joe Yang, was sitting in his chair watching her with a pair of spectacles on the bridge of his nose. He was younger than Gao May thought, and he was an attractive doctor. There was some silvering at the temples of his hair, but he was dressed clean and nice in a pale blue button-down shirt and black slacks. Gao May was sitting on his couch with a thundering heart as he took out a pen and began writing on his notepad. Gao May, he said. Is it okay if I call you Gao May? She nodded. Well, Gao May, let us start with how you are feeling. She couldn't find a single word to describe her feeling. Then she asked a question. Should I sit or should I lay down? Joe smiled. What makes you comfortable? I don't know, actually. Then try lying down to see if you feel better than when you're sitting. And whichever one you choose, we will go with that one. You don't mind to wait? He smiled. No. I'm ready to begin when you feel comfortable. Gao May nodded and decided to lay down. The ceiling was her view now instead of him. This gave her more confidence. She cleared her throat and said a weak, I like this way better. Okay, Joe replied. Would you like to share with me why you're here today? Her hands became sweaty, and she folded them together to keep them from scratching herself. She closed her eyes and darkness consumed her. I'm not sure if you can help me at all. Let me decide that. She took a deep breath. For as long as I can remember, I've been having nightmares. Well, I'm not sure if they're nightmares, really. Dreams. Really, just dreams. Dreams or nightmares? He asked. She sighed. I don't know. If you like a dream, is it considered a nightmare? And if it makes you never want to wake up, is it bad? It depends. What happens in the dreams? She took another deep breath and then felt a sad feeling enter her. She tried to control her breathing. She opened her mouth to speak, and instead a sob came out. She heard the doctor's kind, it's okay to let your feelings out voice. She swallowed hard and continued on. I feel like in these dreams, they're not dreams, but memories. They remind me of a lifetime I used to live a long time ago or something. Is it true that people can remember memories, or that dreams are a suppressed moment that they used to live once? Sometimes they can be, Joe replied. Sometimes dreams are just dreams. And sometimes dreams are a repeat of what used to be your life, whether from a lifetime ago or a moment you wanted to block out. In these dreams, are they of this age, or is it from another era? She felt sad again. It feels like thousands of centuries ago, like it's a place far from this universe, and a place that's out of a novel. I don't think a place like this even exists in reality. This is what makes me so confused. What happens in these dreams? Multiple things, really, but it's always the same surroundings, like a fairy tale land, a place where cherry blossoms bloom and a river that flows and the world is gentle. I can hear a horse galloping and a man is on the horse. And when he reaches me, he is dressed like he's from another era. She stopped to catch her breath, her chest rising and falling with a deep, heavy pain that consumed her soul. He calls me my lady, and sometimes he calls me my queen. When he speaks, eloquent words flow through his lips, making me fall in love with him. The words he chooses to say to me makes my knees weak. Can you share what he says? Gao May shuddered, and then a warm feeling took over her body. She smiled and began to speak. He tells me that my beauty is what makes the spring weeps, because it simply can't compare. The rivers don't know how to stop flowing because they run to outbeat my glow. And he tells me that when I cry, the tears turn to flower petals, because that's how pure I am. And my fragrance is sweeter than the nectar of a peach, and that's why he needs my lips so much. There was a silence for a bit before Joe replied, How does that make you feel? Gao May shifted, and in the darkness of her mind, the man from her dreams appeared before her. She smiled and replied, "It makes me feel as if I am loved, like I'm wanted, and that in the world I am his only one. But then I wake up and I realize it's only a dream." These could be suppressed memories from a painful past of someone who you have not gotten over, Joe said. When you break apart from someone who never gave you closure, your mind creates fantasy so your heart can survive. Gao May opened her eyes and took a deep breath. But what if I've never had a lover in my life? Then these are fantasies your mind has created to fill an emptiness. "So what do you say?" Stacy asked during dinner together. They were seated at a new French restaurant, eating food they couldn't pronounce and drinking wine that would have their bank accounts crying in the morning. He said, "My mind was creating fantasies to fill an emptiness." Stacy laughed as she gathered a forkful of pasta. "What the hell? What kind of quack doctor is that?" Gao May shrugged. "Kind that the company pays $200 an hour. He prescribed me some sleeping pills to take so that it would help keep the dreams away, I guess." She reached into her purse and handed the bottle to Stacy. "Those pills were expensive too. I'm just lucky my insurance covers them." Stacy looked at them and then she handed it back. Maybe you should stop reading so much love stories." "You think it's the love stories?" Hello? A man on a horse galloping to you with a cape? A kingdom? Sounds so unrealistic and straight out of a love story. Maybe the doctor is half right when I think about it. When we want something so much that doesn't belong to us, we tend to hurt ourselves. And maybe it's time to take Steve from marketing's offer to dinner." Gao May made a face. "Steve from marketing? Oh, ew. He files his nails, Stacy. I can't be with a man who cares about his nails more than me. That's just not my standard of a man. His nails cannot look better than mine, okay?" Stacy laughed. "Okay, enough about this dream man of yours. The company party is less than 2 weeks away. You got your dress. Do you have your mask?" Gao May leaned forward. "I was going to ask you about that. I'm not sure what would go well with my dress. I mean, what do you think?" "Your dress is lavender, right?" "Yes, with gold tassels on the sleeves." "I'd go with a gold mask and white feathers. I saw one on Amazon the other day and thought of you. I'll get it for you. It's perfect." The mask arrived in a gold sequin with white feathers on one side. As Stacy said, it was perfect. The day that the party arrived, Gao May spent her day at the salon getting her hair done. It was curled and pinned high on top of her head. She had the stylist add a few white feathers to match her mask. She had her makeup done and her nails painted a bright gold. When she wore the dress and the mask, she looked in the mirror and caught a glimpse of the woman she kept seeing in her dreams. The chandeliers hung like bats down the ceilings as soft ballroom music played across the room. Women in fancy gowns and men in suits were around them, wearing masks of all colors and designs. Torches of fake fires were hung around the hall, creating an eerie glow of centuries long ago. The band members were all in masks to fit in with the theme. As Gao May made her way through the many masked individuals, she wondered if she would recognize Stacy. She had just reached the buffet table, where a large design of food were set up with gold goblets of blood-red wine. She noticed a woman picking off the olives on the mini pizzas and laughed. Stacy could not be missed anywhere. She wore a deep blue dress with the fur wrapped around her slender shoulders. Her hair was curled and flowing down her back with a bright blue sequin mask with fur surrounding the outer edges. "Hey, you're ruining $1 million menu, missy," Gao May cried. Stacy turned around and gasped. "Oh my gosh, look at you. You look incredible. That mask, it finishes the look. You look like a goddess, Gao May." "Thank you. Have you found your name on the table yet?" Stacy shook her head as she put the mini pizza into her mouth. "No, I arrived not too long ago. I think we're sitting together." They walked together to find their names on the table settings when the band began playing a waltz. A masked man came and bowed suddenly to Stacy. "May I?" he asked. Stacy laughed and shrugged. "Sure, but you gotta find one for my friend here too." "You're in luck." My buddy here, he said as his friend stepped in, is in need of a partner. The masked man who appeared before Gao May was dressed in a black tux with a green mask. He offered her his hand and she took it. They followed Stacy and the other man onto the dance floor. The man reached over and pulled her hand onto his neck. This gesture had Gao May smiling. As he placed his hand on hers. Do you trust me? He said in a deep voice. Gao May smiled. Not entirely. How can I change that? Tell me your name, stranger. They began moving to the sound of the music. You are asking me to trust you, but I don't even know who you are, she said. My name is... He was cut off when someone tapped him on the shoulder and simply offered his hand to Gao May. This man was wearing a white mask over his face. He wore a black jacket, but on the inside was a deep red ruffled shirt that hung out and neatly tied into a bow. His hair was black and long to his shoulders. Oh, the man dancing with Gao May said, I suppose you can cut in. I want her back, though. Before Gao May could refuse, she was handed over to the man in the white mask who stood a foot taller than both of them. When he slid his hand onto hers, she felt a spark ignite inside her. As soon as his hand lay on the small of her back, her heart began hammering and it began to beat loudly. Her breath came out uneven as he pulled her close to him. You've so rudely stolen me from my dancing partner, and I don't even know your name, Gao May said. He smiled only and spun her around. The world began to spin around her, and as she was spinning, she heard his voice. Your fragrance is like that of sweet nectar. That is why I crave your lips. She gasped as she was spun around and landed into the first man she danced with. He caught her before she fell, and Gao May felt her body weaken. Are you all right? He asked. Where did he go? She asked. She searched the crowd and removed herself from the hold of the young man, who was dazed and confused. Gao May started parting the dancing couples and ignored Stacy's shout for her. She fought her way out of the crowd and through the chairs. In the corner of her eyes, she saw someone exiting the hall, and she caught sight of the red ruffled tie. Wait! She cried as she ran after the shadow disappearing into the hall. She ran as fast as she could, careful not to slip. She made it out to the big entrance hall when her heel caught on her dress, and she tumbled forward, only to be caught in the arms of someone, and she was lifted up as if she weighed nothing. When her gaze came into focus, she realized she was in the arms of the man with a white mask. He was staring at her with eyes that had haunted her dreams, and without waiting, she reached over and removed the mask from his face. When it fell to the floor, clattering loudly, the man who had sprouted poetry every night that captured her heart stood before her. His face was designed with the god's appreciation for beauty, and her heart began pounding. Her pulse quickened, and the sweat that she felt take over her every night washed over her entire body. Oh my God, she whispered. He gave her a smile, and then set her down on the ground. My lady, he said. His accent as thick, and his voice was drenched with a sweetness that made her insides slowly melt. She felt her body shake as he continued to watch her. You're real? She asked. He smiled, and that made him look even more attractive. If I am not real, would you be able to touch me? Gao May felt her heart rush, and then she shut her eyes. This is a dream. This is not real. He's in imagination only. When I open my eyes, he will not be here. She counted mentally to 3 and opened her eyes. She was alone, and lying on the floor was the white mask. With shaking hands, she bent down and picked it up. The feeling of it made her fingers burn, and she lost her balance. This time her knees hit the ground, and she was gasping for breath. Gao May, Stacy's voice said through the hall. What happened? Are you okay? Looking up, a single tear fell down her cheek. She didn't know what to think. Stacy, she said slowly. Stacy, I'm going crazy. What? Stacy knelt down before her. What are you talking about? Gao May shook her head, and she reached up to remove the mask from her face. Stacy, the man you saw me dancing with, he's the one in my dreams. He's real. Stacy frowned. What? You know, the second man? The second man who cut in the dance. He's the one I dream of every night. He was here. Stacy removed her mask and held Gao May's face in her hands. No, sweetie. Listen to me. Maybe you had too much to drink. The man who cut in your dance, he's still dancing on the floor. You just broke free from him and began running out of the crowd. What? Gao May asked with confusion. No, he was real. I saw him. I saw him. No, sweetie, Stacy said. Gao May broke into a tearful cry. Stacy, am I going crazy? Am I crazy? Tell me, please tell me that you believe me. Tell me that you saw him twirl me and that he was real. Stacy shook her head and pulled Gao May into a hug. Let me take you home. I think we've partied enough for tonight. I'll stay with you. Gao May broke into a sob. No, he was real. He said the same words he said to me when I dreamt of him. She pulled away. His voice. It was like silk as he whispered how I tasted like the nectar of a peach. Her voice broke. It was real. He was real. Her body felt heavy as she dropped all weight against her friend and sobbed while missing the shadow that silently removed himself from the corner of the room. I need to know what is going on with her, Stacy asked Dr. Yang as Gao May sat on the couch with a lifeless expression on her face. It had been 2 days since the incident, and Gao May had gone into a deep, depressive state. Stacy had no choice but to reach out to the doctor. I can't discuss her sessions with anyone but family, Joe said. I'm the only family she's got left. If you care about her well-being, then you will share with me what you know. Joe sighed and removed his glasses, rubbing the bridge of his nose. I'm not seeing anything medically wrong with her. It's suppressed memories that are making her feel this way. It's fantasies that she's drawn up in her mind. If you are family, then you should know that the people who have hurt her has left a deep enough pain that she can't physically move on from. Stacy shook her head. She's never had problems with her family, doctor, even when they were living. She's never been in a serious relationship either. Where would these suppressed memories of pain be coming from if she's never had her heart broken? And what about this man that she keeps talking about? Stop talking about me like I'm not here, Gao May said loudly. Both turned to look at her. Neither one of you believe me. So what should it matter what I say? Stacy walked to sit beside her and held her hand. Gao May, I'm trying to help you. Then help me by believing in me, she cried. You're my best friend, and yet you think I'm making this up. Because I didn't see him at the party. Then check the damn camera footages. Stacy felt her throat close up. The halls outside don't have any camera footages. Whatever was captured was on the dance floor, and no man like you described was caught on camera. Gao May sobbed and covered her face with her hands. No, he was real. I touched him, and I spoke to him, just like I'm speaking to the both of you now. He carried me in his arms, and I recognized his voice from my dreams I've had since a little girl. How can I ever forget a voice like that? No one on earth speaks like that. Gao May, Joe interrupted. Do you trust hypnosis? What? I have a friend who specializes in hypnosis. Maybe it could help us understand what is going on. And maybe in return, it could help you remember what is the truth. Are you open to that? I'll do anything as long as I can get an answer. Gao May, my name is Dr. Ben Holland. I've been specializing in hypnosis for the past 20 years. The kind doctor with blue eyes said as Gao May lay on the couch before him. I want you to know that you are safe and that nothing you don't choose will take place. I want you to pick your safe word. When you feel you are being harmed, say that word and I'll bring you back with a snap of my fingers. What is your safe word? Gao May swallowed, and then she said, peach. Okay, got it. Peach. Remember, peach is your safe word. He pressed the recording button. Today is Monday, December 15th. The year is 2019. I am here with patient Gao May. This is Dr. Ben Holland. The time is 3:15 in the afternoon. We are going to begin our session with hypnosis. He paused and then began again. Gao May, relax your body. Let your body sink into the couch and close your eyes. Let your mind be free. Let your heart go and clear your thoughts. Now, listen to my words and listen to them carefully. I'm going to take you back to a place where you were happy. Can you tell me a time where you were happy? Gao May felt her heartbeat slow down, and the darkness consumed all around her. Yes. Okay, can you tell me where you were happy? She felt her breathing change, and her hands began to twitch. Haven's bloom. Haven's bloom. What is that? Gao May gasped loudly, and when she spoke again, her voice had a deep accent. Haven's bloom, the kingdom where my lord ruled with a steady sword and had me, his queen, in his arms. Ben leaned forward. Who am I speaking with? Do not dare address me so casually, commoner. I am but your queen. The king would punish you if he should discover that you utter such words on your lips. It is the gallows with your life. I apologize, my queen. May you tell me where we are? Gao May laughed and said, You must be a foreign traveler if you have not heard of Haven's bloom. Allow me as the queen to welcome you properly. And may I know how to address you, my queen? A smile appeared on her lips. Why, I am Queen Gao May, Princess of Water Lotus, ruler of Haven's bloom with her mighty king, Lord Tao of the seven gods of Mount Rain. The year 1450. Haven's bloom. The fire cackled in the large chamber, with the torches that burned on the walls keeping it warm. On the bed lay Lord Tao of the seven gods of Mount Rain, body thick with muscles and black hair to his shoulders. The gold sheets twisted around his lower parts of his body as he held his bride, Lady Gao May of Water Lotus. The couple had spent a mere 3 hours pleasing each other and lay satisfied with one another's scent blended in the pores of each other's flesh. Tao ran his hand through Gao May's soft strands and laid a kiss on her forehead. My lady, the sun is a thief. It seeks to rob me of your body. When it peeks through the clouds, it is asking me to give you up. How can I, when you are the soul beat to this heart of mine? He asked. Gao May lifted her head up and stared at him. My lord, such loving words sing from those lips of yours. What shall I punish you with, if in a fortnight my ears no longer hear such poetry of love? He smiled and curved a finger underneath her chin to look at him. This tongue, unless ripped out, will never stop uttering these words of love. You alone make the sun weep against its beauty. Your beauty is one that hurts. If one looks too long, it can drive them blind. Gao May laughed. Well, why then, my lord? How is it that you can still see? Do you not understand? It is only I who can glance upon your beauty and have my vision intact. Anyone who dares to, I shall render them sightless. She twined her hands with his and brought them to her lips. And if any maidens dare to share your bed, I will render her completely deaf. He laughed and wrapped his arms around her. What a witch I have in my bed. You have already casted a spell upon me, my lady. I dare not gaze upon anyone that does not have your face. My promise to you as your king is that you shall rule beside me, and my promise to you as your man is that you shall be in my bed for as long as this heart of mine still beats. If it is 1,000 years, then together we shall rule for 1,000 years and breathe 1,000 breaths. He leaned down and laid a kiss on her lips, holding her head in place, taking in her breath. My queen, let me bronze you yet again before the sun rises and steals your presence from my arms. My lord, her breath stopped. Peach. Gao May jerked awake at the sound of the fingers snapping. She sat up with tears running down her face. She gasped for breath, and her hands went to her head, screaming and weeping. Ben came forward and put his arms around her, holding her in place, trying to comfort her. She felt as if her veins were going to explode as the moment she experienced replayed in her mind. The same man who had been haunting her dreams had been a flesh and blood man in her arms. Gao May, please try to gather your emotions under control, Ben said as he gently pushed her away. She sobbed. Doctor, how is this possible? Is this real? What did I just experience? Were they suppressed memories like what Dr. Yang said? Ben took a deep breath. No, I do not think they are suppressed memories. I think these are moments from another lifetime trying to push through. They are not memories, but more of valued moments that your heart can't let go of. It's as if you are still searching for that man. Gao May sobbed. I have been searching for him, but I don't remember him. So, the question is, how do I go about searching for a man I don't remember? Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to part 1 of A Promise of 1,000 Years. Please stay tuned. Part 2 will be uploading shortly.